I've got a gin and tonic here because I needed some fortitude. So I'm going to raise a glass to 15 years of chance to shine, I think. Happy days, welcome. Thank you for joining us, everybody, from many parts of the world. I know we're expecting more than 200 people, so there's about 60 still to come, 60, 70 still to come. This is our first group. We're divided into 3 segments this evening. Michael Atherton, Lord King, Sir Tim Rice and Sir Adrian Beecroft, along with Wazim Khan, are joining me for this first segment. I'd like to start, though, by thanking a whole host of people who played their part in this extraordinary 15-year journey. Obviously, individual donors, crucial. We'll come to that in a second. The ECB, the county board networks, the corporate partners, Sport England, who have played an enormous part in everything we've done, professional players who have supported us from first to last. So many turning out at events, speaking strongly in favour of Chance to Shine, which of course matters in the overall messaging, and all our event supporters, board members and staff. Over the next hour and 20 minutes or so, we'll have 3 segments involving the gentleman in front of you. Next up, Alistair Cook, or Sir Alistair, I should say, and Stuart Broad, Ebony Rainford-Brent, Judy Coles, important headmistress of a school that supported us from the off, Andy Gray, a great supporter, and one of our coaches. And then we have Eoin Morgan, the World Cup winning captain, along with Charlotte Edwards, another World Cup winning captain, with us for the last segment, along with our Chief Executive and Chairman, Laura accordingly, and Sir Donald Brighton. So it's a heck of a programme. I'd like to start with these guys first, but first up, Lord King, the Lord King of Lothbury. I'm going to go with Mervyn, if that's all right. What an extraordinary thing when we sat together in the Cricketers Club, in the bar of the Cricketers Club in London in 2003, September, put together as we were by Duncan Fernley, and agreed that no cricket in state schools was a disaster and resolved to do something about it. And here we are now.
So it was an extraordinary moment because Duncan, who had known both of us separately, asked us independently what we thought the Cricket Foundation of the ECB should be focusing on. And I think Duncan was struck by the fact that you and I, different backgrounds, you've been a professional cricketer, I've been far from that, but I knew him through Worcestershire. And we had quite independently come up with the idea that whatever the Cricket Foundation was meant to focus on, it should be restoring cricket in state schools, competitive cricket in state schools, the chance for kids to learn what competition was like in sport at school to prepare them for life after school. And really from the very outset, you know, we hadn't met before and Duncan brought us together, but I think there was that very clear and common view from the very beginning that this was an educational charity. This was about helping children, showing what cricket could do to give them a tremendous opportunity. And it wasn't about producing England cricketers. And I felt very strongly that since that, you know, I'd been to a state grammar school, and I know that I would never have achieved what I did if I had been forced to sit in front of a blackboard all day long and never had the chance to do things outside the academic work. So playing cricket was incredibly important to me, not because I was a good cricketer, but because it helped my education and gave me chances. And this was something which was no longer available to many children in state schools.
Athers, you were at Manchester Grammar, but even there you only played cricket once a week, didn't you?
Yeah, my background was a combination really of state and private. MGS, a private school, brilliant, you know, one of the best in the land academically for sure, with excellent facilities and great opportunities. I'd been to a state primary in Manchester, in just on the outskirts of inner city Manchester, not, you know, quite a challenging area in some respects, Briscoe Lane Primary School it was called, but we had a playing field, we played a full rota of football fixtures in the winter and cricket fixtures in the summer. So I couldn't have been luckier on both counts, really. And obviously those days of state primaries and then comprehensive schools or state secondaries playing a full round of cricket fixtures in the summer have long gone, and clearly and one of the reasons why I've been happy to help, much less, you know, than many other people who are on this call. But I've tried to do my bit along the way. And, you know, it's a charity I firmly believe in, and I knew there were good people involved. Often one of the problems with charities is you're never quite sure where the money is going. Given that Mervyn was involved, I felt sure it was going to be pretty efficiently run.
Yes, it was a safer bet than backing me. The interesting thing I thought right from the beginning was the way the players embraced Chance to Shine immediately. England players were happy to become involved. Commentators and writers, you were starting out then with the Telegraph Group, of course, and now onto the Times, but everybody seemed very, very comfortable with it. No one doubted the potential of it, which was very gratifying for Mervyn and I.
Well, there are a lot of...
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, after you.
It's true that from the very outset, everyone we spoke to, apart from the official cricket world, was immensely supportive and said, what a wonderful idea. But we did meet some resistance at the very beginning from both the ECB and the MCC, who had seen so many attempts to produce half-baked programs and seen them wither on the vine, that they never believed that it could really work. And so their support was a bit half-hearted. What was fundamental, I think, Mark, was that in the first year when we began, we insisted that there was regular reporting from the cricket clubs that were working with school back to headquarters of Chance to Shine. And we actually got rid of a number of clubs. We just booted them out of the program because they weren't doing what we said they should be doing. It wasn't money for nothing. So that very strong managerial control over the program was a fundamental reason why it succeeded, in my view, and didn't just fade away as many other attempts have done. Yeah, and I think obviously the ECB and the MCC came round because when Keith Bradshaw became chief executive of the MCC, he was strongly and very encouraging, very strongly supportive, very encouraging, helped MCC put money in. And gradually the ECB came round because they could see that the program was working successfully, and they could see that government support was very strongly for Chance to Shine, probably more so at that point than it was for the then ECB.
No, well, ECB now, of course, are firmly on board. In fact, so much so that they drive a lot of our funding and absolutely integral, the core of our coaching. So that turned around really, so much so that now I think we have a fabulous relationship. I'll just let you answer that, Athers, that the ideas seem to appeal to the players.
Absolutely. I haven't come across anybody who speaks ill of Chance to Shine. I mean, there are a lot of cricket charities, obviously, going after the same dollar or the same pound. A lot of charities in that space, but Chance to Shine is highly regarded. And to a man, players are usually happy when an email drops in the inbox asking for some support, whether it's cooking with you or hosting dinners in the writing room or whatever it is. I've certainly been more than happy to give some time.
Yeah. Tim, I have to, I don't suppose I should mention the figure, but ladies and gentlemen, all of you listening, watching, I went to Sir Tim Rice and said, I need a lot of money from you.
Yeah, you had the photographs.
And it was a lot of money I asked for. I'm sure you can sort of all guess the figure, but it's the ultimate six-figure sum. And Tim went, and of course he doesn't want me talking to anybody else about it because there are huge demands on blokes with a few bob, particularly if they write songs. But Tim, you didn't really hesitate. You thought about it for a day, rang me up and said, let's do it, as if you might have had a feel for its potential, or am I imagining that?
Well, I think it's, as I think Athers was saying, it's down to the people running it, and if you know the people running it are, legit, which you and Mervyn clearly were, it wasn't that difficult. Just and it was something I was keen to do, something to you know, let others benefit from my ludicrous good fortune. And this was an opportunity to do just that. And it's been very interesting following it since. I mean, like Michael, I had a very privileged upbringing in terms of sport. Unfortunately, unlike Michael, I wasn't very good at it. And ironically, the only sport I was good at was swimming, which meant that I didn't play much cricket anyway. But I've got an enormous amount of pleasure and satisfaction from all aspects of cricket since leaving school and running my own team. Again, I'm not even good by their standards, but I see so many cricket clubs around the country through my own team and you know, through things like Chance to Shine. But you realise what a great force for good it is, way beyond what happens on the pitch. And there are a lot of good cricket clubs that one sees all over the shop, which encourage young players. And when this is something which Chance to Shine have actually helped enormously through the clubs, and of course above all through the schools. But I do worry sometimes about where the grounds are they're going to play. I mean, presumably the clubs are the main source of where these kids who are brought into the picture of cricket actually play.
Well, it's a good question, and one that Wasim can pick up on in a moment. Before he does, I'd just like to remind you of there are a number of aspects in which you and Mervyn have similar talents. The wearing of spectacles, male, but of course also left arm spin, because Tim is a bit of a lobber, bit of an old-fashioned sort of 1920s lobber, whereas Mervyn, you're a little sort of more Norman Gifford, a little sort of flatter and fair.
Only in the run-up. I think once I've completed the run-up, I revert to being more of a lobber. Graham Hick once said to me, someone asked Graham Hick what I bowled, because he came down to the Banks ground and played for us on the family sports day. And Graham Hick said, Mervyn is slow left arm. Very slow left arm.
Well, it's harder to hit, they say, particularly if there's nothing in the surface.
I always used to get batsmen out as they try for the second or third time to hit the ball.
Before I come to Wasim and Adrian, I've got a little video. Dan, I hope, has taken over as host and is able to show a little video that celebrates our 5 millionth child. How about that?
When I play cricket, I feel like there's a crowd watching me. I feel amazed.
There's a love for it. The children absolutely love cricket. They play at lunchtimes, playtimes, but there's an actual love for cricket. The enjoyment that the children get from it, the engagement within those sessions has been 100%. Every child has wanted to get involved. As soon as the cricket coach walks through, they're all excited. They start running into the hall, they're high-fiving them, and then they're ready to go.
I like playing with my friends because if you're alone all the time, you will never get to play with your friends anymore. If you don't have any teamwork, you will never succeed.
I love a quote from Eunice Armand, 9 years old, from the Percy Shermer Academy in Birmingham. I thought cricket was rubbish, and then when I played it, I thought it was amazing. What I like about cricket is the teamwork, because if you don't have any teamwork, then you'll never succeed in life. Not bad, age 9, I would say. His school, the Percy Shermer Academy, have had Chance to Shine since 2017. Last year alone, 610,000 children in the programme, half of them girls. 90% of primary school children gave it the big thumbs up and quoted words, phrases such as, I had great fun, I want to play more, teamwork is crucial, I found new friends. They're all happening. 81% of street cricketers, I'll talk about street a little later, but that's our programme for difficult urban communities. So the programs help them develop as people. So it's a great story, 5 million children, and Wasim, you were the first to hit the ground running when we started the pilot. Ozzie Wheatley was involved as chairman in those very early days, and you became CEO. You're now running Pakistan cricket. Your journey is an extraordinary one. One of the reasons we wanted you to be operations director at the start was that you fully understood the development of programs that would help educate life skills amongst people in your area of Birmingham.
Yeah, definitely, Mark. And I think if I look back now, I guess I was a graduate of Chance to Shine before it even started. I was spotted in a playground by a teacher. And literally, you know, I'm not being over dramatic when I say that probably changed my whole life, because I was never really academic at school. And then I sort of got into Warwickshire at the under-13s level. And my life changed because it actually got me out of this bubble that I was in my inner city area, the Pakistani area, not many white faces around. You know, when I was asked whether I knew where Warwickshire was, I'd never heard of Warwickshire when I was taken for a trial. And so it really did change lives. And I think when Mervyn approached me about, I still remember that phone call I got, and someone at the other end of the line said, are you Azim Khan? And I said, yes. So you've got Mervyn King, the governor of the Bank of England, on the line for you, and you'd like to have a word with you. So I definitely knew it wasn't one of my friends, because it was just too bright for them to come up with something like that. So the following day, I headed down to Threadneedle Street, obviously met yourself, Mark, Mervyn, Ozzy, and it really gave me a sense of value, because you had this vision about what you wanted to do within state schools. And all I could reflect on were my own emotions and feelings about how cricket had changed my life. I'd had the stepping stone of playing professional cricket, which in all intents and purposes probably wasn't my ultimate aim in life. And I suddenly felt with Chance to Shine, I'd sort of come home, I'd found a sort of spiritual home with something that I really passionately believed in. And, you know, we had a lot of sort of setbacks when we started, a lot of people sort of pushing back, as Mervyn said, but I think we stayed strong with our passion, our vision about where we wanted to go. And I don't think we wavered with that at all, and had great support from yourselves, from Adrian, who came in as chairman, and right at the end, Donald. But I think that, you know, the goal we had, and I think the energy we put behind making that goal real and making it happen, was something that, you know, I'll never ever forget, because I think it then set me up for the rest of my life.
Do you think that you always believed, or do you think you were doing a job that interested you? Could you have imagined 5 million children, more than 5,000 schools, £55 million raised? Really?
I think I wouldn't have been able to keep my passion for it if I didn't really believe in it. And I think that, you know, your enthusiasm of doing something can only take you so far. But for me, it was sort of running through my blood and through my core. I'd go into schools and would see the difference it was making. And those numbers are great, but it was always about the human stories. And because, you know, I reflected back on my own experiences and knew how cricket had changed my life. And I remember Mervyn always used to say that, you know, in life, you know, somebody's good at something, you just got to find it. And that was certainly something that, whether it was cricket or not, whether cricket was a catalyst to inspire someone to do something they'd always wanted to do, and then go on and achieve something, I think that in itself was a huge success story for us.
Adrian, you became chairman in 2008 and were chairman for 6 years of the Board of Trustees. You've given us an awful lot of money, and you've announced apparently that you're launching back into your annual scheme that will mean that you will have given us as much money as Sir Tim has. Why? And tell us about this year's scheme. I think you're matching pound for pound. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So why? Why? Because I got a letter through the post one day talking about Chance to Shine and would I like to get involved. And so I said I would like to get involved. And before I knew where I was, I ended up as chairman of it. And I wanted to be involved because cricket's played a huge part in my life. Enjoyment and also, you know, getting to be 16 and starting to play in the local cricket team and mixing for the first time really on a sort of equal basis with adults was a good growing up experience. Made endless friends through it, and
and still playing. So I just wanted to make sure that as many people as possible got that same opportunity. And it was clear that with changes in the way state education was working, that less and less kids were getting an opportunity, which I thought I'd like to do something. Initially, I thought it'd be fairly modest to help, and then I was incredibly lucky because Waz you had shrewdly made Waz operations director, and there was a vacancy for chief executive, and he was the very obvious candidate out of the people then working, and clearly he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, he has. Adrian, you're matching pound for pound up to 100,000. Is that correct this year?
Yeah, that's right.
Lovely. Well, I'm gonna punish you straight away for that and put in 1,000 of my own. So that's a couple of grand we've made just like that. It's the most expensive phone call you've ever made. If anybody over the next hour should feel such an influx of adrenaline, please contribute, because Adrian's gonna match it. We have a limited time with Sir Alistair Cook, so he had to go at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to keep Broady waiting unless Broady puts up some revolt on the chat thing, and bring in Sir Alistair Cook if I can. Dan, can I leave that with you? When I see his face or hear his voice, we'll incorporate him. Ather's lockdown. You've been working hard, writing a lot for the Times, doing a lot of stuff for Sky. When do you really think we'll see cricket? Scheduled Test cricket on July the 8th. Will that happen?
Well, they're increasingly confident that it will. It'll be cricket like we've not seen it before. Well, unless you've watched Test cricket in the UAE, that is. There's going to be no crowd. There's going to be limitations on what the players can do with the ball. They can't fly live on the ball. So there will be restrictions. But they're increasingly confident that West Indies will travel. They're going to get the green light at the board meeting in the Caribbean on Thursday. They'll be here a month beforehand, so the first week of June. They'll have a couple of weeks up at Old Trafford, and then that first Test match will be there, and then they'll go down to the Ageas Bowl. And they're increasingly confident that they might get, the vast majority of the men's international season away, which would be amazing if it happens, given all the restrictions that have been imposed. But fingers crossed.
Great. All right. Lovely little summary. Have we got Cookie or not?
Mark, can you hear me?
Ah, yes, I can hear you. It's important to have another night on. We've got Mere, Atherton and Khan. We've got Lords and Knights now.
Can you see me though?
No, that's the real upside of this moment.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at it. Look at you. Alistair Cook. Lovely to have you. Sir Alistair, thank you for joining us.
No worries. Sorry, my technical knowledge is very poor.
Oh, not as good as mine. That's why we're 15 minutes late starting. You have to go at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yeah, around there. Yeah. Okay.
I'll just get Broady in at the end of your thing. So everybody, Ebony and Judy and Andy and everybody, I will come to you. I hope that you'll be able to hang on to 8:45 instead of 8:30. Just keeping an eye on things. I'm really sorry. Cookie, what's happening? Are Essex training, practicing?
No, we're not. We're all furloughed, so we aren't doing anything until end of June. So now the last time I saw the guys was on a pre-season tour in Abu Dhabi, which we were 4 days into, when it got canned, and we've been sent home ever since, really. So since the beginning of March, I haven't picked up a cricket bat and kind of just waiting, like I suppose, like everyone is.
Stuart Broad has just texted me. I'm not making this up. What's Cook got on at 8 o'clock? He's had the summer off. Probably a fair call. You still want to? I'm fascinated that you still want to play. I mean, it's now. We'll never forget the summer of 2018 and your extraordinary game at the Oval. That incidentally you'll remember resulted in a lot of money for Chance to Shine, because Mick Jagger was supporting us to the tune of runs and wickets for money, and it ended up being a lumpy sum that he gave, and your contribution to that was 30 grand on its own. Tim then followed up by doing that again next year. So Tim didn't just give money at the beginning, but he continued to give money. That was a remarkable occasion, and yet here we are, nearly 2 years on, and you still want to play the game professionally. I find that fascinating.
Well, I mean, last year was a good year, a different year, obviously for Essex. You know, we won the county championship with a great season, and then we finished off with that kind of cliffhanger down at Taunton. So, yeah, I mean, I had no idea. I did know that after speaking to people, you know, when I was trying to make the right decision in 2018, that they said it's a big cliff to fall off if you go off and you never play cricket again. So a few of the guys, not all of them, but a few of the guys I spoke to said, if you've got the opportunity to go back to county cricket, why not give it a go? Because I think it helps with the transition period. And I'm very lucky with Essex. You know, they've been brilliantly supportive of me for years and years, you know, throughout my international career, and obviously when I was a junior. But actually last year I had so much fun. It was a great place to be around, and obviously to have a trophy at the end of it obviously made it all the better. And then the double with the 2020, not that I had anything to do with it. So it was a great year, and yeah, and obviously this year is obviously a bit of a, you know, no one expected this, so you couldn't finish on that. And I really enjoyed it last year. So while I enjoy it, I will carry on.
Well, my obvious follow-up question is, if this year was, I shouldn't say cancelled, aborted, would you therefore play next year?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, I couldn't go. I don't think I could walk off with an abandoned year. I've been slightly worried what's happened to my very limited skills, because if you don't pick up a bat for a while and you don't do it, it's going to be quite a bit of a shock to the system. Yeah. But no, I know I couldn't imagine finishing this year if county cricket doesn't happen, which I don't know. Obviously, I just listened to Atherton, and that was great news about the international. He believe in the international thing's going to happen, but whether they can do the same for county cricket or even any kind of domestic cricket, I just don't know.
Tim, I mentioned Mick Jagger. Musicians, actors, writers seem to come to cricket.
Well, yes, quite a few of them do. There's a lot of playwrights really are the mob I come across most, and elderly rockers, with great respect. Yes, there's always been this great love of cricket. I think it's something to do with the fact that it's not actually, having said that, 2020 of course is, but it's not quite as frantic as other sports to follow. Although of course there are plenty of rockers and writers who love soccer, and I enjoyed football myself. But I'm not quite sure what the reason is. But actors, you go back to people like, you know, David Niven, Trevor Howard, C. Aubrey Smith, who was not only an actor and starred in films, he also captained the England cricket team, which was extraordinary. It's always been something that seems to have appealed to those who like to be on stage and perform, or else create things that are performed. And, you know, without getting into cliches and pretentiousness, a serious proper test match is quite like a play. When you have one or two performers in the lead roles, those lead roles change as the game unravels, but it's very much, I mean, a great thing, an almost unique thing about cricket is it's a team game, but of course, at any one moment, there are one or two, or if you take the fielding side into account as well, 3 or 4 leading players. And that's very much what happens in theatre. You've got 1 or 2 people who are there, but the others are just as important. And without them, the leaders couldn't shine or couldn't do all the things they do. That may be reading far too much into it. It might just be that people like to go to Lord's and a beautiful ground and have a beer or 3. But there's no doubt. I mean, every year I try and ask a few theatricals to come along, and 1 or 2 I try and convert. I mean, Stephen Frears, who claimed he didn't like cricket, he's an absolutely, you know, he's a huge enthusiast now. And Christopher Hampson, very old friends of mine who were a little bit sniffy about cricket, but once you get them into the arena, once you get them seeing what's happening, they're all for it, and they get it very quickly.
Athers, you've lost a couple of dear friends this year. Bob Willis, of course, and he was the end of last year, but also recently the writer Stephen Fay, the journalist to whom you were very close.
Yeah, in fact, I was speaking to Bob's wife this afternoon, actually, because his memorial should have been held at Southwark Cathedral in August. That's going to have to be postponed, or has been postponed, until later in the date. So we'll get a chance later on, hopefully, to celebrate Bob's great life. Stephen Fay, that you mentioned, passed away about 10 days ago now. Over the last 20 years, a very distinguished career, was writing about cricket. The chairman of Lancashire, David Hodgkiss, great friend of all Lancastrians up there, passed away through COVID-19. So, you know, it's affected the game in pretty desperate ways, not just the lack of play for everybody across the nation, recreational cricket, professional cricket, but in other particularly heartrending ways as well.
I've just got to, before I this segment, Mervyn, would you mind just absolutely the cruelest question I could ever ask you, given we've got a key audience, will our economy get through this?
We will get back to a normal economy at some point. The structure will look rather different, because I think there'll be less enthusiasm for international business travel. We'll be focusing much more on issues of resilience and robustness. You know, we've been through a period of 30 years in which the focus on profitability and efficiency was to the fore. I think we're going to step back and say, no, events like this can happen, survival matters, therefore resilience is what we have to focus on. But certainly the productive capacity of the economy, unless it's damaged badly by allowing too many businesses to go under, means that we will get back. And I think the key point is when we get to a vaccine, once we have all been vaccinated, our fear of this particular disease will disappear. We'll still be cautious about preparations for a future pandemic. That is a thing that we didn't spend pay enough attention to. And then we'll go back, I think, to very much where we were before, with these differences in the structure of how we spend our money and what things we produce. And it may take some while to get there, and it will take even longer, I think, to get back to a world in which we regard globalization, international travel, lots of international trade as being the norm. But I suspect that in the end we will get there, but with much more attention paid to preparing ourselves for things like pandemics in the future, because this won't be the last pandemic we experience. No,
we've heard that from Bill Gates of late. Before we say goodbye to you, this evening, that is, you said to me recently, and I'd like you to say to those listening, that Chance to Shine is perhaps the best thing that you've done in your life.
Yes, I'm obviously proud of my professional career, the things I've written as an economist, the time I spent at the Bank of England, how I reshaped the Bank of England, played a part in changing the policy of this country. But as Wasim said earlier, when I've been to schools and seen the stories of the lives of kids being changed by Chance to Shine, hearing the stories from head teachers who welcomed Chance to Shine because it did things that no one else in the school could do. Kids that had dropped out, kids who felt that they had no sense of self-esteem and therefore behaved badly. Chance to Shine led them to discover themselves. And I think it's the only thing I've done that's really brought tears to my eyes. And that's why I feel this is the most valuable thing that I've done.
Wow. Well, I would endorse that from my own point of view, I think.
One last point I'll make, which Michael Atherton may remember this, but people ask me, when did the financial crisis of a decade ago begin? And it began on the day in 2007 when Mike interviewed me at the Oval about Chance to Shine. And we did an interview, and I left the interview thinking that went really well. It was one of the best interviews I felt I've given. And I went back to my seat and sat there for a few minutes, and then someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mr. King? I said, yeah. You should answer a telephone call from your office at the bank. That's when the financial crisis began. the chance to shine was there before, and it's come through it. And I think it's extraordinary that 5 million children have been through the programme.
Athers, what power you have. Right, Athers, we'd love you to stay. To Mervyn, our president, thank you very much. To Adrian, former chairman and an enormous giver, who set another thing in motion tonight, which is terrific, that we hope will end up being worth £100,000. Thank you. So Tim, obviously without you at the beginning and without your continued support now, we wouldn't be able to have you. Please don't leave us, but I'm going to take you off the line because we're going to bring in Stuart Broad. Wazim, I'd love you to stay for a bit if you could. I don't know I know it's getting late now. Is it a bit late for you?
It's at 12 o'clock, it's fine.
Oh, perfect. Can't have you go yet. Gentlemen, Mervyn, Adrian and Tim, thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you.
Broady, can we get Broady? We've got a few problems getting hold of Stuart Broad. He's got us all, because we've got these problems, everybody. He says he's there. That's a big S. That could be him. That could be Broady.
You got me?
Ah,
there you go.
Broady, hello. Look at that hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of you training in a hairband the other day. I thought that was very Roger Federer.
Yeah, it's a bit of Federer inspiration, actually. Yeah, we've all been advised to, because we're not supposed to touch our faces while we're bowling, and actually, it's a weird habit that you get into when you're bowling, when sweat drips down your face or something, just to touch. So wearing a headband is just trying to train us not to touch our faces while we're bowling spells.
Aha. Had Cookie gone? Because I just wanted to set you both up.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Aha. So you two have supported us, as mentioned, either by turning up at cooking shows in the long room floors, and that's what you've both done on numerous occasions. It's much to Broad's chagrin that you've won chance to dine 3 times to his 2. Chance to dine, folks, for those that don't know, is an evening in the long room floors in September. And England cricket come and cook, and they get judged by professionals and then voted upon by the assembled throng. And it's won it 3 times. A whack of lamb, a chocolate brownie, and
wasn't it an onion and rocket tart where I forgot to put the rocket in? I think.
Oh,
it turned out to be an tart.
Onion and rocket tart. Sounds revolting.
You cannot win with an onion and rocket tart.
Oh, you can. It's just how you do it, Broady.
What did you cook, Broady? What was your 2 winning dishes?
Did I do a beef Wellington? I think I did a beef Wellington. I did some scallops with a pea puree.
Right.
Didn't you do the pea puree and SB or something? That must have lost you a few points.
I thought I won that year. I can't remember what I lost with. I think I got dealt the sort of rough card and got the sort of pre.
Do you remember who you lost to?
Was it Mark Wood?
Toby Rowland Jones.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Like that at all. I'll talk about slightly more important things. So I have to say that those evenings Lords, guys, raise anywhere between 75, 76,000 and 100,000 every time. So, I mean, you turning up is not wasted energy. So thank you so much for that. Hope you'll be back to try to win the 3rd and match the Maestro. However, Athens, these 2 have one thing that you don't have.
I'm listening.
They won an Ashes series.
More than one.
And 100 at Lords.
My claim to fame, of course, is that I think I've, along with Alex Stewart, played in more Ashes series than anybody else without winning one. I started my Ashes career in 1989, and at the end of the first day, Australia were 301 for none. Ended it with an innings defeat about 13 years later, and not much better in between. So my Ashes career was a complete write-off, unlike these 2. But of course, unlike Cookie, I didn't have Xavier Doherty to face. I had one Shane Warne.
Oh, he's not responding. Okay, you're not biting.
I'm muted, aren't I?
Better. We can hear you now. Cookie, you've had 2 extraordinary wins. 2009, when you thought you'd lost the first match, somehow drew it with Anderson and Panesar at the wicket, and then went on to win at Lords and win the series. And then, of course, under Straussy, winning away in Australia. How do they rate against being captain yourself when you win the Ashes?
I think winning away in 2010-11 will forever hold that group of players. You know, there's some kind of bond between that group of players, which I don't think any will never get again. Well, obviously I won't get again, but winning away in Australia, drinking beer at the SCG on their outfield, I thought just what we went through as a group of players there for 3 months in Australia and how well we played. That was probably my favourite tour. So that was incredibly special. And then obviously then if you're in the Oval picking up the Ashes, as a captain is what you do dream about as a young player. You never think that's ever going to happen to you. So to do that twice, I was incredibly fortunate to play in my era with the group of players we played with, and obviously against, as Atherton has pointed out.
Would you agree with that, Brody?
Yeah, I think any series away from home just feels a little bit more special, and not because of crowd support or anything like that. We're incredibly well supported in England, but I just think it's something about not growing up with those conditions. So you're really testing yourself. I mean, Test cricket's always the ultimate test, but playing in conditions that you've not grown up with, and still winning, beating a team that have played all their cricket in those conditions from the age of being in the back garden type thing, makes that extra special. Whether that's Australia, India, South Africa, wherever, an away series win, sitting in the change room afterwards with your teammates celebrating is incredible. I mean, any Test match win is very, very special because you work not just for the 5 days, 4 days, whatever to win. You work consistently to be able to put in performances to win. And what I love about Test match cricket, it's not you need more than 2 or 3 players to have a good game. I think you need 8 or 9 players to contribute to win a Test match over 5 days. And I think 50 over cricket maybe 3 or 4, and 2020 cricket you can win it if 2 players have great days. So that's why Test cricket always feels such a team game to me, although it is obviously you're delivering your skill individually.
Cookie, you've got to go. I know that you're being called. A quick word on Chance to Shine. You supported us from the off. You came back to Chance to Dine actually as a judge last year, which was fun. I hope you'll continue to do so. It's clearly a charity and an initiative really close to your heart. Yeah,
it's a fantastic charity, and you talk about the Chance to Dine. Obviously, that's one of the highlights. But actually, the best trip I ever had was, which really summed up Chance to Shine, was on a rooftop in the middle of London, where this game of cricket on the school was played. It was just incredible. I mean, the space was probably 10 Chance to Shine kids and the coaches to turn up, to give them those opportunity to be introduced to cricket. I was like, when I left from there, I thought, that it's doing some amazing things, this charity, and and I just remember these kids just whacking this. They're not tennis balls, they're a bit harder than tennis balls, kind of almost like a wind ball, just whacking it into the middle of London as if they didn't care. We probably lost 30, 40 balls, but it was that was a great day.
Well, Judy, who's going to come and talk to us in a second, has just come on to say that was a great day. She remembers it very well. She runs the school. So thank you. I always thank you. You really are a great supporter. See you very soon, I hope. I don't know. You may well not play this summer, but I hope you do. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and hope everyone stays safe. See you in a bit.
Thank you. Brody, we're going to bring in Ebony Rainford-Brent, if I can do that now. But while we're doing so, while she's clicking in, Brody, you're training at the moment. As I understand it, the bowlers are training individually with a coach.
Yes, I'm at Trent Bridge, and it's been fantastic, to be honest. I've started with myself and James Pipe, who's the Nottinghamshire physio, and Chris Silverwood actually came down Monday to see what was happening. It's just great to be back bowling again. I mean, that 10 weeks is probably the longest I've had off from bowling for a considerable amount of time. But I think getting back to bowling made me realise how much I've missed the game. And although I'm only bowling at a set of stumps and a net that rolls back to me, it still feels very special to be out there training. And what have I done? 4 sessions now. I feel positive about what could happen this summer. I think it's moving in a good sort of safe direction for us to be able to continue to get sort of cricket going again.
I've got lots to ask you actually, but Ebony's joined us. Ebony, hi.
Hello guys, how are you all? Thanks for having me. I think I might have underdressed actually. I've just had a text or two. Should have upped my game.
No, you haven't underdressed. Folks, I've got such a cracking line here. This girl is not just Ebony Rainford-Brent. It's, if you just do an iota of research, this is the best name I've ever heard. Ebony Jewel, Cora Lee, Camellia, Rosamond, Rainford-Brent.
It's a long one.
That is ambitious parenting, I would say. Ebony Jewel, Cora Lee, Camellia, Rosamond, Rainford-Brent. That's a name and a half. We love it. You are in love with this game. You have been from a young age. You played for England. You were part of 2 World Cup winning campaigns in both 50 over and 20 over cricket. And now you're director of cricket at Surrey. You're on radio and television. My goodness me, this cricket's in your heart. As too is Chance to Shine, because you're a new member of our trustees board.
Yeah, I've been roped into the club, but I've had a long passion for Chance to Shine for a long time, to be honest. It's been very much part of my journey, actually, way before women's cricket was professional. I was one of the first ambassador coaches, which gave me not only a livelihood, so an opportunity to make an income while trying to play for England. It really let me get into the grassroots of the game. I was out coaching in schools and clubs, maybe 30 hours a week sometimes. And I got a chance to see different communities, you know, everything from the traditional cricket clubs and everything that it takes to make that work, through to the inner cities with less resources. I think that experience made me become very passionate about the charity, and it links to my own journey into the game, because if I'm honest, there wasn't your traditional route into the game. I didn't have that sort of traditional entry route of family members and stuff like that. I was very much a football kid who loved to play football in the park, and cricket was given to me as a one-off opportunity that changed my life, that one day I hit a ball. So I'm all over Chance to Shine, and really glad to be on board with you guys now. I'm just
going to pick up on something you've both touched on with Athers, actually. Athers, it's interesting, isn't it, how clearly people have missed cricket and how much cricket means to people. Has this been a chance, do you think, for us all to reevaluate that a bit?
Well, I think, sport in general, for me, certainly from the family I came from, is like a thread that has run through my life, really. Many of my favourite moments growing up were related to sport and cricket, obviously. And then in the last 20 or 30 years that I've been involved in the game professionally, it becomes the store by which you set your summer. And clearly, you know, when Stuart's playing for England, he's away in the winters as well playing. But for most people, April becomes the start of, you know, getting ready for the season, and it gives your summer rhythm and meaning because you can relate to all those seasons that have gone before, whether it was with your father or grandfather or whatever it may be. So I think for many people, it's just a thread that runs through their lives. And for that reason, it means something. I think we all know it's not the most important thing in the world, sport or cricket in general. But because it's not the most important thing in the world, it can be meaningful. It takes you away from the daily grind and gives you something to do that's fun and, you know, and healthy. So important. And I think you're right. It will have given people a chance to reset and rethink about the game. I felt right at the start, actually, that there would be an opportunity to reconnect with your community club, because obviously in a lockdown, wherever you are, your sense of place, the people who are around you, they become very important. So my closest club where my lad plays and I'm involved is Radlett Cricket Club. So I'll be damn sure when all this is done that, you know, I put on an evening there, we try and raise a few quid, I get involved back at the most fundamental aspect of the game, which is your community club, and everything spreads out from there. So I hope that there'll be a greater connection or reconnection with those fundamental clubs, if you like.
Broadly, presumably, I mean, your father played for England, is now an international referee, and you had, not sparing your blushes, exceptional ability when you were very young. Did you come up through a system that encouraged it? Like
very.
Primary school, before secondary school, primary school, say.
To be honest, I just remember playing with my friends, whether it be in the park or garden. My childhood felt like I was bowling and batting against a tennis ball with half tape and pretending to be Glenn McGrath and Sean Pollock and swinging it both ways and just having fun. We just had a few rules that if you hit the window, you were out, which is a pretty solid rule throughout the country, I think. And yeah, I actually look back now, having played a lot of international cricket, and think I did a lot of learning, a lot of fundamental learning at that age of techniques, trying different things, failing a lot, but then trying something different, and working out something that worked for me as a player. And the key to cricket has always been for me, and I thank my mum for this all the time, is whenever I played a game, whether I got 0, 50, no wickets, dropped a catch, 5 for, the first question she'd ever ask me was it fun? Did you have a good day? So actually, performance never came a factor in whether I could have fun. I could get 0 and non-for and still have a great day with my friends, and that stood me in good stead, because now, even though it's a sort of career of mine and a life of mine, I still play for fun, and I can still connect with that kid who was 8 years old bowling at his friend in the park. So yeah, I was very fortunate with my upbringing. Obviously, my dad had influenced me and inspired me a lot. And I was very fortunate to go to a secondary school that led me with brilliant facilities and gave me huge opportunities. But my love for the game started much younger than that.
I'm going to come back to you in a minute about bowling with Jimmy Anderson, but before I do, I'd like Judy Knappert, once Judy Coles. If you've worked with people long enough in this charity industry, their names change. I'm going to ask Judy to join us. She's from the Hague Primary School in Bethnal Green, the head there. And while she is joining us, Ebony, Director of Cricket at Surrey. I would imagine that's a big role and allows you the chance to dig very deep into the roots of the game and embellish, improve structures that need more children to be a part of. Simple as that.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate with my journey through the game. You know, I've come through the gates from sort of 10, 11 years old at the same club that I'm giving away my age here, but it's just been over 25 years now. And, I've had an incredible experience, but what it's given me is a breadth of it, really seeing the game, from someone who was kind of out of touch with the game coming through the doors through to someone now who's fully engrossed with it and in love with it and obsessed with it. And seeing it from grassroots through to broadcasting through to development, performance, I've really had a chance to do that. This remit has been really around developing the women's game, as we all know how far it has become professional. Chance to Shine has been critical to that as well, I think, in terms of growing the base and the fan base of the game, bringing more women into it, developing coaches, all that sort of stuff. And now with things like the ACE program, which is around sort of bringing different diverse groups in. We're focused at the moment on the Black British community, and we've talked to Chance to Shine about how we can really link street projects to bring in more talent through. So yeah, I feel really fortunate, I have to say, to have seen the game at so many different levels, and just to be able to give back. So yeah, it's a really fun opportunity, and I just hope that we can do loads for the game as it goes forward.
I must admit, your portfolio is perfect, really, in that you began as an ambassador and coach with us when you came out of professional cricket, and now you're on the board of trustees. So it's quite something. Judy, great to have you.
Hi, I just had to swap devices there. Let me down at the last minute.
No, don't. But I let everybody down at the last minute. That's why we're 15 minutes late.
Don't worry.
What a performance from you over this long period of involvement, and the way you embraced Chance to Shine at your school in Bethnal Green right from the beginning was, I think, very much from your soul. It wasn't part of the school's past. It was a difficult area for you to sell cricket in, and yet it's done wonders.
Oh, it's just been an amazing journey, and we've just loved every single minute of it. I had children asking me to find football coaches, so I found them a football coach, and then one little fellow said to me, "Oh, Judy, I don't like football." And I thought, "Oh, that's ungrateful." I said, "Oh, what do you like?" And he said, "Oh, he wanted to play cricket." I thought, "Oh, yeah, I like cricket." So we hooked up with Middlesex just through a Saturday flyer, and got a bunch of kids going off. And I think it was Mervyn that was saying earlier about, you get a bunch of kids and they get hooked into the sports. And I certainly found that as a class teacher at the time, that once I had children playing in the cricket team, not only did their sort of sport improve, but also their maths and their homework and attendance improved as well. So it just had so many good spin-offs, and it was very good.
That was always one of Wasim's great things, wasn't it, to ensure that there was a greater breadth of experience than just the cricket. In fact, the ambition to bring educational programming into the children's experiences sort of worked out rather better than we might have ever thought. We remember that launch, May 2005, with you.
Oh, I've got great photos.
Oh, that was fantastic. The day we brought the whole thing to the world for the first time. The pilots had been a great success, and there you were proudly on the stage as Mervyn spoke. It's something that it's sort of, what's the word? It's like the seed is sown, and then you get areas where other schools want a piece of it, and they want to
absolutely
from that root branch, isn't it?
Yeah, and the kids wanted the T-shirts. They wanted to have that Chance to Shine T-shirt and be part of the cricket team. So that really helped to grow it for us.
Yeah. When are you going back to school? Are you back on June the 1st?
We are. We've got an inset day, a couple of days of training and getting the school ready again. It's like going back after a massive long holiday and having to sort of pick the ball back up again and get the team playing again. And we've got to grow some confidence amongst our staff and the community, but we'll get there.
All right. Athers, we're going to say goodbye to you because we're going to bring in Eoin Morgan and Charlotte Edwards. Thank you. You've done so much
for us.
Good to
see you all.
You hosted a Zoom dinner party the other day.
Did I turn this the other way?
I did, with Ashley Giles, who was very good. He gave us an hour of his time, told us exactly what's happening. I think people enjoyed it. We're doing the best we can in difficult circumstances. Stay well, everybody.
Thank you. And while we wait for Eoin Morgan and Charlotte Edwards, Broady, you bowl with Jimmy Anderson, the two of you, the most successful pairing in English cricket history. Indeed, one of the most successful pairings ever. Well over 1,000 wickets. And it looks like it can go on.
I hope so. Yeah. It's an interesting period. Obviously, neither of us have had that many breaks over the past few years, and as we mentioned earlier, it's 10 weeks really without bowling, and that we don't know how our bodies will react. That could get us another year, couldn't it? Really, our bodies have gone over any sort of niggles that we were carrying and freshened up, and it could extend both of our careers. We don't know how this summer will go. I think there's there's planned for 5 or 6 test matches, there might be. I don't think the bowlers will play all of those test matches because of workload issues and how sort of jam-packed they are into the schedule. So I don't know how much I'll play with Jimmy this summer. But yeah, hopefully we can get together in the future and bowl a lot more, because I mean, the last time I saw him, actually, the last time I bowled with him at Cape Town, walking off there, he got 5 from the first innings. I was walking behind him with the amazing stands of Cape Town with the mountain, and just thought, this bloke's a magician. I feel so lucky to have played in an era that I've been able to share the pitch with him and learn so much from him. And he's given us all so many great moments to remember. But that particular moment, after all the years we played together, walking off at Cape Town, I thought, this is special.
It's true. I mean, how special was Ben Stokes at the end there too, winning that match? But I'm going to say Ben for Eoin Morgan in a moment. Broady, you've done so much for us. I don't just mean Chance to Dine either. So much coaching with street participants and presenting trophies. And I remember being at Downing Street with you when we actually played. You batted and bowled, and I think I just eased one through mid-wicket in the middle of Downing Street. I hit number 10 on the railings there. So you've done a lot for us. We appreciate it. I hope you'll do some more. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We hope that you're bowling for England on July the 8th.
Thanks, guys. Love to see you.
Lovely to see you. We're hoping to get Owen in, but we have got Charlotte. How are you, Lottie? Oh, you've got to unmute, demute. Demute.
Oh, there we go.
Well done. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. What are you doing in lockdown? Knowing you, training, working, hitting a few cover drives, organising something. You're the most organised human being I've ever met.
Oh, no, I'm actually organising my new garden. So that's been a project throughout lockdown, which has been quite enjoyable, actually. So I'm playing a bit of golf. So I'll take Ebs on when I next see her.
I'm ready.
So you didn't pick Ebs for the final in 2009?
Yeah, you did.
Don't start.
She also ran me out. I don't know if everyone knows this. My debut T20, I'm sorry, I'm going to take 30 seconds to tell the world this story. My debut T20, come out nervous, first time you're playing for England. We had about 3 balls to spare. Charlotte's on strike, and she says, whatever happens, you got to run, mate. You just got to run. Lottie nails the ball, starts running. So obviously, as a rookie, I start pelting it. Guess what? She doubles back, puts her bat back in. There's a picture of me cartwheeled, everything all in a mess. Lottie stitched me up. So I was run out first game. I'll never forgive you, Lottie. But it's all right. It's all right.
We're over it now, though, aren't we?
Yeah, 20 years later.
I don't want to set Judy between you both at this stage. You win. Charlotte, you know, we haven't got Owen yet. Pity, because I wanted the 2 World Cup winning captains on together. So Morgs, if you can get in, keep trying. I haven't had any message saying that there's a problem. I have a very nice message from my brother saying, brother, this is fantastic, loving every minute. There you go. You see, how about that?
Oh,
got him ready when you are now. The Loveday Foundation has just donated £2,500. The Freyning Foundation in Essex, £500. Morgs in and watching. The figures are good. Tim Rice, thank you so much. Enjoyed that. Once we got going, it was excellent. Morgs is saying, not sure how you add me to chat. £500 for Casper Rock. Well, Morgs, I don't know. Now, how do we... we've got to get Morgs in somehow. Dan, Morgs. Well, we'll just keep trying. Vishal, we'll try to get one of our coaches in. Vishal. Lottie, it's very interesting how quickly you've moved from playing the game to being a strong administrator and commentator at the same time. I was going to ask Ebony the same. It can't be that easy to mix both roles.
No, I mean, it's been relatively easy for me. I think I've probably stuck more towards the sort of coaching administration, and I've done various bits of commentary, which I've really, really enjoyed, actually. And I've loved the variety since I've stopped playing. But I think my real passion at the moment is with the coaching and with the players. And yeah, and I think it's an exciting time. It's just unfortunate at the moment that COVID's sort of stepped in, and you know, this summer's going to be really important for the women's game. So it's you know, it's bitterly disappointing that we won't get as much cricket as we thought, but it's looking more and more likely that we will get some at the end of the summer, hopefully.
Judy, to see these two girls on the screen here, and knowing that 50% of the children who played under the Chance to Shine banner in this last year are girls, suggests that the profile of the women's game and the fact that these particular women are such inspirations has really made a difference. Is that a fair observation?
Absolutely. Whenever we've been watching the games and like the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, the girls get really excited, and we've had the privilege of having Heather Knight come into school and do an assembly and spend time in the classroom doing curriculum sessions, and that just really ignited the girls' interest. They want to take part in the young playground ambassador program, so that they become playground monitors, and they set up games of cricket, and very often it's the girls who take an active lead on it, and it's partly to do with the women coming in and being ambassadors. It's great.
Vishal Mumgai, one of our best coaches, and his story from coming from India is a great story. Vishal, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Hello. Eoin Morgan, our World Cup winning captain, joins us.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for joining us. You had adopted Chance to Shine as one of your two chosen charities with the Ruth Strauss Foundation for your benefit year, but I imagine the benefit year is on hold, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's a bit like everything at the moment. It's been put on the back burner, and to be honest, it's the least of a lot of people's worries, considering everything that's gone on outside and in the public. But hopefully we'll be able to reignite it next year and raise some good money for Chance to Shine and Ruth Strauss Foundation. We're also going to have the Cricketers Trust on board as well. But I mean, 15 years Chance to Shine. What awesome stuff. You guys must be so excited.
Yeah, actually, I'll be honest, we are. It's quite something to have come this far. And the great thing is we feel like we're only just beginning. Vishal, your story, you came from India when you were, 10 years old. You didn't speak much English. You went through some of our programs. You joined Street. So you understand both sides, both school and urban community issues. And now you're an important coach in what we do. You've been involved at Loughborough University. Goodness, I mean, well, I'm breathless even talking about it. But you've smiled ever since you discovered Chance to Shine. That's fair, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I moved over to this country when I was 9, 10. Didn't have to speak English, not a word. Didn't have any friends, obviously, just new to the country and stuff. And I got involved because one of the coaches came to my primary school and started coaching there. And that's how I got involved. And I joined the first ever hub in Bristol, because that's the year it got launched as well. Way back like 12 years ago now, I think. Went through all the sessions, went to different competitions, made friends, did all sorts of things just because I was involved with Chance to Shine. Did the KP24 Foundation 10 days in Wellington College. Now I'm at Loughborough University, second year, studying maths. I'm playing cricket obviously as well.
Other than Eoin Morgan, Charlotte Edwards, Ebony Rainford-Brent, Judy Nappett, Mark Nicholas, who is the biggest name you've met in cricket? Who really blew you away?
I mean, I was very fortunate enough to attend the day Tim Rice was at the Oval. I met you that day. I don't know if you remember. Met Shane Warne that day. Met Mike Hussey that day as well. He was there. I don't know. That day was a pretty special day for me, to be honest.
You did say Tim Rice, yes?
Yeah. It's the day I did the last match. Not last match. Sorry, the Test match special on day 2 at the Surrey Test in last summer.
Yeah. Well, you've put Tim Rice and Mike Hussey in the same breath. That is definitely going to make both of their evenings for completely different reasons. Ebony, bless you. Thank you. Judy, but great to talk to you both. We appreciate it. Ebony,
thank you.
Strength to strength. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, guys, and congratulations on a really special milestone. Thank you.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Well done.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you very much. 2 World Cup winning captains. My goodness me. Let's go back to July the 14th last year. You've talked about it 1,000 times. Here we are, almost a year on. What has surprised you the most in the last year, do you think?
The biggest thing for me has just been the overwhelming goodwill and support that has been going on probably in cricket for a very long time. But as a player, you sit in a little bit of a bubble and you try and focus on preparing and trying to win series or preparing for World Cups, and you're quite closed off. Even though that we travel to the four corners of the country playing from Durham right down to Southampton, you still don't get the response that we received this year after winning it than I've ever seen. And I'm in my 11th year playing international cricket, and I've not seen that. Even in 2005, when I was a young cricketer at Middlesex, that was the biggest thing that ever happened to the sport that I loved. It was on the front page and the back page. But even still, I think last year surpassed that. And I think just people's goodwill and you know, there was a lot of following and a lot of support for us. And the one thing that I actually take real pleasure in, and I've mentioned it a number of times, is that our fans and supporters up and down the country and around the world that follow English cricket and us in all three formats are of completely diverse backgrounds. And I think during the World Cup final, while I'm watching it back, you see in the crowd people wearing jerseys of different races and completely different backgrounds. And for me, sport has that power. And I'm not sure music as well has that power, just to cross barriers and unify something special within people to come together. And I'd probably say that's what surprised me the most, and certainly I'm the most proud of.
Yeah, you've seen, Charlotte, haven't you, really, in your time, from the moment you started playing to now, the power of sport within this growth in the women's game. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a different game, but certainly it's the women's game is much improved in standard, massively improved in profile, and now with enough of a solid base to grow and grow, to move ahead, to be a very important part of the sporting development of all females in the world, never mind just here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible journey, really, for me, starting out and not, having to play boys cricket, and now for a young girl now to have a very clear pathway to play cricket at the highest level is, I think, probably one of my most proudest achievements in the game, is to have witnessed that in the time that I've been playing. And I think Chance of Shine's played a massive part in that in the last 15 years. It's certainly helped me personally, in terms of getting the coaching contracts in 2007, but then us being able to go into schools and be that role model, like Judy said, that actually inspires so many young children to play the game, not just girls, it's boys as well. So it's been, I feel incredibly lucky to have been able to work for Chance of Shine and obviously follow their progress. And that's why I'm so passionate about the charity, and I've done so much for the charity over the years.
You have. I mean, Charlotte delivers school assemblies, charity receptions. She turns out endlessly. She runs Q&A. She's huge in National Cricket Week. She's a coaching ambassador. I mean, she really has done an awful lot for us. You've both had to deal with severe pressure in your careers, playing not just on massive occasions, but when things have depended upon you. When you know that everybody's looking at you, how do you deal with that? Is that something that you learn, something that is inherent? Oh, and you come first on that.
I think it's something that you learn. I suppose taking on the captaincy is something that I have done later on in my career, and I've had the advantage of watching and observing very good captains who have been before me, the likes of Andrew Strauss and Alistair Cook, very fine men in leading by example and setting the tone and almost role modeling what the team should look like. And I suppose under those pressure situations, the process by which you go about your business or do what you do normally should remain the same. And I think the more practice you have at that, the easier it is when it comes down to that big moment in the game. And I think being under the pressure of being captain later on in my career is certainly given me an advantage if I was actually appointed earlier on in my career.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Charlotte, that you can't really learn to cope unless you have the experience to do so? Or you know,
Yeah.
like Graham Smith came captain to South Africa when he was 22. Mind you, he said to me it took him 4 years to be any good at it. Pressure's a hard thing to work out.
It is, but I feel like my early years helped me massively playing boys cricket. Every time I played cricket, I was judged. Every time I walked out on the cricket field, people were thinking I shouldn't be playing. So I think actually probably one of my biggest strengths when I played for England was the fact that I was quite mentally tough because of my upbringing and because of the experience I'd had from such a young age playing boys cricket, I think. So that certainly prepared me to captain England, but there were many challenges along the way. But like Eoin says, you learn from other people and you learn from your mistakes a lot of the time, I think, which, you know, hopefully you make less and less as you go on.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Andy Gray to join us, one of our other donors. While I'm assuming he's still with us. He was due to be on about half an hour ago. But so while Andy's trying to get in, Vish, what about pressure for you? Did you ever have an experience coming to a new country where you felt, I don't know, an outlier, threatened, that life might get too hard for you?
I mean, it was tough because for the first 2 years, because I couldn't communicate, didn't have any friends. I was speaking in almost like sign languages and trying to communicate. It was very, very hard. But then when I got into cricket, it was one of those things I like. You can speak the language of cricket, so you can communicate to people through cricket, and then I eventually start to speak into the people that were regularly coming to the sessions. It built my confidence in that sense, and then it gave me a sense of belonging. And then because I felt comfortable, it's a safe environment for me. I got to start talking to people, improve my communication. Then went to school and then started speaking to people there because I was confident. It grew me as a person, and it soon became clear to me that it wasn't about playing cricket and that be all of it, or it wasn't about winning all the games. It was actually being a better person each day and making other people feel comfortable and making other people feel welcomed and making friends. And I've actually I'm still really good friends with a lot of the people that I first met when I was 10 years old. But the tournaments I've gone to, Manchester, Birmingham and stuff like that, I'm still in contact with them. When I travel in the country to go down to those kind of parts of the region, we meet up, we have a drink, we get food, and it's strange how much Chance to Shine has changed my life in that sense. And it's gave me friends that I would have had. It's gave me opportunities I would have never had. I don't know what I would have been doing at this. I don't think I would have been at university studying maths. I don't know where my life would be without Chance to Shine, to be honest.
You don't have to say any more. I mean, we now know why Mervyn King admitted to shedding a tear. I've shed a few, and why Andy pumps lots of money into what we do. Andy, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation to be in such august company as World Cup winners. What an honour.
Well, we wouldn't be talking Chance to Shine without a gentleman such as yourself. So thank you very much. It's a simple question from me. You've just heard from Vish, actually a very interesting insight. Why? Why do you choose to part hard-earned money with us?
Well, I was, if I had to take a minute or two, I was introduced actually through the Chance to Dine by being invited by a sponsor. So that's what got me into it originally. I think what appealed to me were two or three things. The initial thing is the team, which has been discussed before. I met Luke and Alex and Wazim. I think they sold to me very much what they were trying to do. And since then, with the other people I've met, they've all been very passionate about what they do. And again, certainly my business and other businesses, you need the passion of the team. They need to have focus as to what they're going to do. So I thought that was tremendous. Second thing was the support from the professionals. like Charlotte, like Owen, like Alistair Cook, like Mike Atherton. Everyone supports it. It feels like there's a great unity across the sport with wanting to put this into the grassroots. So I thought that was really positive. And the third thing, I think, was it really appealed, the raison d'etre of what they were trying to do. I mean, I went to a state school, lots of people do, they come through. Cricket to me is just something I enjoy, going to the games, etc. I was no great cricketer. But, I think unless you put support into grassroots cricket, particularly in the street cricket and in the state schools, the sport will fade. It will die away. It's competing with football, various other sports that are on TV all of the time. Unless you actively support it, get the right cricketers. I mean, you've got to make sure that you cast the net very wide if you want to have all of society supporting the team and playing for the team. So I think for me and for lots of other supporters, it really appeals. It's got a great, passionate team. Tonight, that's incredible. It's a great achievement.
Well, thank you for that. Well worth hearing. You've reminded me, talking about Chance to Dine, of someone I was going to mention later, but I'm terrified I will forget to do so. So I'm going to mention her now. Claire Hall ran our events for a long time. Finished up about 6 months ago, went to the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme, and of course hasn't been able to do what she would have liked to have done by this stage, like so many of us. But Claire was a very big part of a long period of what we've achieved. So thanks to her. I'm pretty sure she's tuning in tonight. And so Claire, we all send you our fondest wishes and greatest thanks. Owen, so what's happening here is the clock's running down, the ball's been hit to mid-wicket. Jason Roy is sprinting. Jason Roy is sprinting at that ball. He has to pick up cleanly. He has to throw accurately, and Joss Butler has to finish the job. Otherwise, England don't win the World Cup. What is going through your head?
As the ball is hit, probably I knew exactly where everybody was, and Jason had already touched the ball twice in the over, and the first time he misfielded, and the second time he threw to the wrong end. So I was struggling to find a positive at that time when the ball was hit towards him. The only advantage that he had was that he's really fast. So doing it at 70-75%, it's just a normal run-of-the-mill exercise where he gets in, throws the ball. And I watched it. I distinctly remember running towards Jofra at the non-striker's end and throwing my hands to the left. So if he looked up and was looking to throw to the wrong end, he would see somebody. But thankfully, he was only on one end. So he's thrown the ball, and then I've started to think, oh no, it's on Joss's wrong side. Because Joss stands on one side of the wicket. In order to collect the ball in front of the stumps, eliminate about 0.2 of a second in order to get the finest of run-outs done. And he's had to go 2.5 yards that way across the stumps, not clip the stumps, gather the ball in the middle of his gloves and dislodge the bails. He describes it as a simple exercise, but having wicket keep myself, I know it's not. But those are the moments that you train for. World Cup final, last ball of a super over, the most extraordinary day of events, and it comes down to that. And it's the simplest of things, as the three guys involved will have talked about, the simplest of things done well under pressure.
Beautifully summed up. The man of the match was Ben Stokes. I think I'm right in seeing you really haven't seen a cricketer like him, have you?
I think he's once in a generation, possibly a lifetime. I think that one of the most exciting things about him, and probably a couple of other players in that team, certainly Jofra is one, Joss is another, is that these guys aren't old cricketers. Yes, they're experienced, but they're coming to the prime years of their life. They haven't hit their prime yet. So the fact that Ben had a summer of a lifetime last year in all formats is incredible, and it's truly compelling watching. I've a lot of friends who don't really follow cricket, but they know who Ben Stokes is now and watched the Ashes because of Ben, remember exactly the game with Headingley. So everything he does, because he can contribute in the three facets of the game, and he wears everything on his sleeve. He really does. It's completely all out when he does something, and I think that's incredible viewing when it happens.
Charlotte, you know, a full house at Lord's on perhaps the greatest cricket occasion ever that certainly that we've had in this country, I would say, given that the Ashes haven't been won at Lord's, and given the most extraordinary nature of the match. Eoin's leadership, you will understand that kind of pressure. You didn't play on the women's team Great Day at Lord's a couple of years before, but a full house there for a women's final. 2,500 people watch your final in 2009 when you won at the North Sydney Oval. A full house at Lord's, watch England win, what, 9 years later. I mean, it's just jaw-dropping.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I was so lucky to be at both World Cup finals, you know, 2 years apart, and to be at the women's one, you know, to see that many people there was, it was, you know, probably one of my proudest days in cricket, because I said before the start of the game, I'd have to see it to believe it, that Lord's was going to be full for a World Cup final. England, India, it was an amazing occasion. I didn't think anything could top that. I really didn't until July last year, and I was there, and I've never ever felt so nervous for the last well, it was the last 50 overs really, because it felt, I was sat between the England and New Zealand families, and it was actually awful just to watch both families and how they were dealing. I was in front of Mark Wood's brother, and he's as crazy as Mark, and he just turned around to me after the end of the game, the proper game, and he just said, "What happens now?" I said, "It's a super over, mate." And they just couldn't believe it, and yeah, it was unbelievable, and yeah, so lucky to have witnessed both. Yeah.
I'm going to ask Laura Cordingley, our chief executive, former international sportswoman herself, netballer of note, and Sir Donald Brydon, the chairman of our trustees, formerly chairman of the Royal Mail, London Stock Exchange, and now of Sage. If both of you could join us, that would be a lovely thing. And then we have our finishing seven, a magnificent seven, I shall call them. Andy, a last word from you. Were you at the World Cup final?
Yes, I was. I went with my son. It was incredible. In fact, just what Charlotte said there, we spent the whole match next to some Kiwis, 10 overs to go. They were partying. At the end, they were just crying. It was
it was awful.
Laura's there. Great. We're waiting for Donald. Laura, good evening.
Hi, Mark. Good evening.
Are you in good nick? You've got some splendid poppies behind you.
I am in good nick, thank you. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable evening, and I hope everyone that's been sitting at home in their living rooms has enjoyed it so far as well. It's been truly inspirational.
There's Donald? Oh, Donald, you've got a goatee. That's so cool.
Well, I thought Alistair Cook shouldn't have it all his own way, really.
Look at that. That's outstanding. That sort of, you've come out of Indiana Jones, you've come out of the forest, and you've discovered the Ark, and now you're going to do something serious with it.
Well, this is a lockdown effort.
Oh, no, don't get rid of it now. It's so senior and trendy and important. Donald, you've I imagine been with us for most of the evening and heard a great story that you now lead with such skill and vision and warmth. You albeit a Scotsman, you're dear to cricket.
Actually, you're right. It's really humbling. I've been listening from the beginning, of course, and I sort of feel it's humbling to be following in the footsteps of you and Mervyn. What a job you do for us, Mark. We should remember to say thank you to you as well. And then you hear about the other people who've all contributed, who've done such extraordinary things. But all of us are united by this extraordinary ability to give joy and excitement and happiness to children. We had some kids a couple of years ago, early in the morning in South London on a hard standing, playing with, of all people, Matt Hancock. And I remember one of the little children saying to me that she would never have played any game had it not been for Chance to Shine. And she had made all her friends through Chance to Shine as a result. And there she was playing with Matt Hancock. Every time he turns up on television now, I bet she's saying, "I've played cricket with him." Isn't that fantastic? So we don't get given many chances in life to bring joy to people. Chance to Shine does that.
Yeah. We don't. And what's so remarkable right now is that even in lockdown, Laura, we're doing exactly that. Initiatives online, coaching, teaching. Tell us about how you filled this period.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I think, you know, as Donald said, one of the things that we care so passionately about is that we just know that cricket can help change lives and change lives of young people. And when lockdown started, fundamentally we realised that there was thousands, hundreds of thousands of children that were going to miss out on that opportunity. And we were really fortunate that actually great work that Luke started, Luke Swanson, the previous chief exec, around developing our digital portal, that we had hundreds of resources that were online, and we had a network of 14,000 teachers that we could reach. And fundamentally we said, well, actually, if we can't get to young people how we would do normally, how do we still try and make sure that we can help keep them active? Because quite honestly, there's going to be millions of children right now that are at home, you know, inactive, and potentially going through so many challenges themselves. What can we do? And what we've been doing on a weekly basis is releasing our lesson plans to teachers through email and actually online through our social media that help kids take part really simply, really fun ways, minimal equipment, in their back garden, in their living room. And we've seen around 300,000 people engage with those videos online to date. And we've had some wonderful emails from teachers basically saying, thank you so much. You know, that email comes on a Sunday, I put that in my pack, I send it on to parents. And we've had some wonderful examples of schools that have then been sharing videos of all their children taking part in Chance to Shine lessons in their back garden or in their living room. And whilst we can't deliver how we would do normally, I think it's really important that if you're a young person right now, you still get to take part in cricket, you still enjoy it, and that we're ready to go again when it's safe to do so. And we've also been doing what we can to support our street participants, who we know probably are more economically challenged through this period, and maybe even have a lack of outdoor space. And we've been developing some street fitness sessions, and some of our brilliant coaches have been showing how you can do fitness sessions in your flip-flops in your living room. And Chevy from Surrey did a brilliant job in week one. And we've also been doing a series of online quizzes for street participants and their families to take part in once a week, because we just think, apart from anything else, trying to keep connected and engaged through this period is really important.
So we've had a quiz about the Cricket World Cup, quiz about the IPL, and a quiz about batting heroes. Did Messrs Atherton or Cook appear as a batting hero?
It happened at 4 p.m. today, and I have not seen the results yet, so I'll report back to everybody. But I'm sure one of them must have done.
Okay, Donald, I know that you'd like to finish things off. I'm actually going to let Eoin finish things off. So before I finish and Eoin finishes, I'd like to hand back to you.
Okay, there was something that Mervyn King said. We did a film in Chelsea, which Shane Warne and others came to, of an Ashes series, and Mervyn made a little speech at the start of it, and he said, and it stuck with me, he said, "You don't have to be in a classroom to learn." I don't think he ever imagined the circumstances we're all in now, but how right he was. And we've managed to take learning out into the fields, into the hard standings, onto the roof, as you've heard, and now online. And Chance to Shine just does something very, very special. Cuts across all genders, cuts across all ethnicities, all wealth spectra. And as a result, we bring the country together, give people life chances. And if everybody watching could just help us a little during this really tough time, because we've lost all our normal fundraising events, that would be fantastic. And Mark, just to conclude, thank you to you for the initiative of organizing this extraordinary evening. It's quite unique, very special. And I should add that had it not been for COVID-19, Chance to Shine would have been starting in Scotland in a few weeks' time. We'll get there in the end. Take care.
Well, thank you, Donald. Thank you for what you do. Running the Board of Trustees is complex, takes a lot of your time. And you do it with, as I just said, actually, immense skill. Laura, what you've achieved in the last 2 months to keep this going in such a difficult marketplace, I hate calling it a marketplace, situation in our lives, is remarkable. So thank you for that. Vish, what a pleasure to meet you properly, talk to you online and hear your story. You've really moved a lot of people. A lot of the messages coming in here are calling you a bit of a hero. And they're not, you know, it's fact. It's all on here. It's not nonsense. Well done for what you do for us now. You benefited yourself, and now you're giving back, which is absolutely outstanding. Charlotte, you're just a hero, one of our greats, perhaps the greatest cricketer we've ever had. There's no doubt that your impact, chance to shine, is extraordinary. I said these assemblies you host, I've watched you do them. Your energy, your commitment to this game is something to behold. None of it can happen without people like you, Andy. We really appreciate your ongoing support and indeed enthusiasm. Some of the things you said rang true. Eoin Morgan, I love you dearly. I'd like you to tell us about the moment when you know you've won it. The moment you've won the World Cup.
So the ball has come in from Jason Roy, bounced beautifully to Joss Butler. Joss shifts across the stumps, 2.5 yards to one side, gathers the ball. I can distinctly remember picking up pace and running towards the stumps in case of a ricochet or anything. And there's that moment that will always stay with me for the rest of my life, very, very vividly, where he takes the bails off, actually smashes the stumps, not takes the bails off. And everybody within the vicinity knew he was out, but didn't know what to do. So we ran as fast as we could, like school children, after Joss Butler to try and catch him. The most incredible feeling I've ever had in my life.
Exciting. Then immense pride, and there you are, the only English cricketer to ever have done it. You lift the trophy as the words come across the PA. England are the world champions. That is uber cool.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. Sorry, as you were describing, I was enjoying you describing it. I get goosebumps across my arm. Yeah, unbelievable. Like the culmination of 4 years of incredible hard work, smart planning, complete dedication, unquestionable belief, to come to that moment where everybody is on the stage, all 15 players, all 14 backroom staff, and we're enjoying the moment for what it is. So incredibly proud.
Well, we are incredibly proud of you. Donald, of course, found a way to make a few bob out of it by organising bets in his box on the Super Over, which then resulted in money going to Chance to Shine. This is not a man who misses a trick. Okay, well, thanks to all of you. I'll come back to you in a second. We can't do this without our supporters. So thanks to the few hundred of you that have been online listening tonight. We so appreciate you being with us, not just in body today, but in spirit throughout our Cricketing Summers. We thank NatWest, who are our chief supporters. We thank the ECB, who go on pushing us and making sure that we are able to do the work we do with their funding. We believe explicitly in our ability to go further, to go higher, to go bigger, to go greater. We have an enormous amount of energy, great support from the likes of Price and Trader and Beecroft. Remember, 100,000, we're matching in pound for pound. So if you want to donate, Adrian's going to double that amount. My thanks to Dan Robinson, our new head of events, who has taken over from Claire Hall. Dan's done a great job in helping collate this evening. And Dan, we wish you well in your new position. We're sorry you haven't kicked off in the way you would have liked, but we know you'll do a great job for us. Eoin, I don't know where you're going to end up. You may well be winning a T20 by the end of the year. If that doesn't happen, it will happen next year. We hope you continue to play and lead us. We wish you a happy and successful benefit year, but we're particularly pleased that Leo has been born. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is right. 11 weeks old now. He's not met anybody apart from his mum and dad, which has been strange so far. But yeah, it's been unbelievably exciting within the four walls of our home, regardless of what's gone on outside.
Maybe he'll be on that podium one day. Fabian Devlin, our old comms man, has just been in touch to say hi to everybody. I can't thank you enough. From Mervyn and Tim and Athers and Wazim and Adrian at the beginning, right the way through the Cooks and the Broads and all the folk, to you, the Magnificent Seven, and all our friends at home. Thank you so much. Chance to Shine is continuing to thrive, and I promise you, going forward, we don't plan to let you down. Goodbye, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and maybe have a gin.
Everyone.
Thank you.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, take now, bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.